Mr. Vallon, did you want to weigh in?
I would. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I think you all know my opinion on this because I've been before you several times as well as at town meeting.
So you recommend $186.29 and $51.71?
No, I don't actually.
He wants 25.
I will get into that. What I recommended at town meeting, which town meeting did pass as a resolution by a majority of the members, was $150 for the first year and $25 for each subsequent year. The basis for that was very simple. Mr. Chapdelaine did a very honest assessment of the actual costs. And as I said many times to you before, there's a very clear Supreme Judicial Court opinion. I don't know why you're not concerned about it. It's very clear. Permit fees have to be tied to actual costs. You can't make up numbers that you feel are numbers you would like fees to be. They are based on costs. You have on a piece of paper now a very honest assessment of what the costs are. The only thing I quibble with Mr. Chapdelaine's assessment is the $30 allocation of scarce resource, because I think, as he acknowledges, and I give him credit for trying, he acknowledges it is a number he made up to try to sort of factor in other issues, but it is not part of an actual cost. The numbers are very clear of what it costs the town to do these permits every year. I have no problem with the additional cost for the first year. $150 is reasonable, even though I think that's a little padded. I tell you for sure the fire department does not spend an hour assessing each property. But nonetheless, I'm not going to quibble with a few dollars here and there. $150 seems very reasonable to me for the first year. But you have very clear written documentation of costs for subsequent years. It's $22 more or less. Rounding it to 25 seems to make sense to me. But I'm baffled by why the members of the board, the parking subcommittee, continue to try to push this fee issue beyond what is actually legal. And I really, really encourage you to think about that very clearly. Ms. Mahan keeps mentioning the overnight ban and the unfairness issue. I've said many times before, make it very clear what the criteria are for an exception. Not everybody in town will qualify. This is not for convenience. These are for people who have no other options. Charging them an excessive fee, just a made-up fee, isn't the way to discourage it. The way to discourage it is to have clear policies on who can apply, who can't. An application fee, I would suggest a non-refundable application fee, will discourage a lot of people. It's $150 a year. But again, if the board intends to support $200 flat fee every year, it certainly won't be the end of it from my perspective. I think you really would be incurring liability here for the town that is completely unnecessary. And you certainly won't hear the end of it from town meeting either. And I guess the only thing else I would say from a Swan Place resident is that if it is your policy to go ahead with keeping the $200 fee, I would like to know how residents on our street can go return this to a private way, because basically we were promised something that was taken back. At this point, I think we'd like to go back to be a private way. But anyway, what I really want to just emphasize is you seem to be suggesting something with this, making this a large fee to discourage people from applying. It honestly doesn't make sense to me. As I presented before, there are loads of cities and towns around here that have permit fees. I understand it's a little different, but essentially the cost is the cost. The cost is printing, et cetera, and all the administrative costs of a permit. Nobody else charges more than $30 a year. I don't understand why Arlington is trying to turn this into a revenue stream. Thank you.